You need to know about microfeminism so that you can avoid it. Women on TikTok are sharing the ways that they implement microfeminism in their daily lives. And what this means is you can develop habits, turns of phrase, or subtle gestures in your day-to-day life to make the world a more feminist and equitable place. And what it really is women trying to be as spiteful as possible towards men at all times, including in the workplace, in order to feel like they're doing something for the feminist cause.
So is this lady like the opposite of the office siren?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay.
Microfeminism has been given its name by TikTok, but the trend, which encourages women to make the world more equitable through small, intentional daily gestures, is one that is worth putting into practice, according to Glamour magazine. So these are some examples that I found on TikTok that women are sharing. Up with the matriarchy, she says.
All right, let's listen to this first one here.
This guy comes up to me and he goes, "Are you Drew's wife?" And I was like, "No, Drew's my husband." And he was like, "Oh my God." And he kind of laughed. And he's like, "I love that." He goes, "Have you heard of microfeminism? I learned about it 3 days ago on a TikTok by this girl named Katie Wood, who uses really subliminal ways of being feminist." And one of the examples that she gave was basically to assume the default of a medical professional is a female and not a male. So they'll be like, well, we're just going to go ahead and see what she says about your results. And it's true, because we do automatically assume. I even do it as a professional. Like sometimes I'll be like, what did he say? And my patient will be like, oh, she said. And I'm like, oh my gosh, even I do it as a female who's apparently a microfeminist, at least with my husband. And anyways, new follower, hope to learn more and be covertly feminist. I'm sorry, anyways, it was really funny. So show me your TikTok.
It's not just using gender-neutral language, it's actually replacing gender-neutral language with female pronouns instead. Mm-hmm. To assume anyone with a respectable job is female and use those pronouns to change people's assumptions.
But wouldn't just, I mean, I imagine that I would just say they if I didn't know the, I mean, this is a whole thing in movies for decades, Honest Trailers or Cinema Sins would talk about it, which is when the pronouns become extremely obvious, when they start saying he, or she, it's to indicate that it's the other.
Right, yeah. To kind of set you up to subvert your expectations.
I notice this every time I watch a television show when they're like, there's a hacker, nobody knows who he is. I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be a guy.
And this is the most notorious example, this next one, of microfeminism. And I've seen women talk about this before. They purposefully don't move on a sidewalk or wherever they are to evade the walking path of a man who is coming the opposite direction.
Okay, here we go.
Favorite act of microfeminism. So I teach a class at a university on campus, going back to my car after class. So I'm on the sidewalk, on the correct side of the sidewalk, only taking up my one little lane, and I'm walking to the car. And sure enough, there's a group of 8 young men walking towards me, taking up the entire sidewalk. None of them are on their phones. They're talking to each other, but they're all looking forward. And they just keep walking forward. Nobody moves over. They are taking up the entire sidewalk. And I just kept walking in my lane, and I literally walked into one of them. Anyways, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and in my early 20s, I met with a licensed counselor. Anyway, she's the one who told me to pay attention when I'm walking on sidewalks, because men will rarely yield to women if they're walking in a group and walking opposite directions. They'll just expect you to move out of the way. And so the microfeminist thing to do is to just stay in your lane and let them run into you. And don't apologize because they're not following the rules of the sidewalk. In the 8-ish years since I've gotten that advice, it is still shocking to me how often this happens. And I'm sure there will be people in my comments who are like, oh no, it's just you. But if you're a woman, let me know if you've experienced this before too.
Okay, you could say they're lacking courtesy to not move out of the way, but they're claiming that it's because they feel entitled to the space because of the patriarchy.
The issue here is that you'll live longer not caring about this.
Yes.
You will live longer, you will be happier, your heart will beat freer if you are not annoying and annoyed by everything.
Practicing microfeminism is going to shave years off of your lifespan.
It's like when people talk about microaggressions. My last name has been mispronounced my whole life, never once has it bothered me. Never once have I cared. Never once have when I'm on podcasts and they get it wrong, I don't even bother to correct them because it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Dasovic, Dasovic.
It doesn't matter.
Dasovich.
And it's not, I mean, this was a thing that used to get talked about a lot in the early 2020s, which was like, they would say it was a form of like micro-racism to, if you couldn't pronounce somebody's name correctly,
Right.
if it wasn't like a white Western sounding name. Well, I have a non-traditional, my last name is not Smith. And when people get it wrong, I don't care. And I'm going to live longer than you because I don't care. That's why I look so good for my age, because I don't care.
And this next example is from a woman in the corporate world practicing being a girl's girl with microfeminism in the workplace.
All right, here we go. Mute it.
Form of like microfeminism.
It's
is
not on
an
screen yet.
email, let's say to like
This is as loud as it goes, unfortunately. We're peaked at the volume.
a CEO, and you have to copy their assistant for scheduling purposes. If the assistant is a female, I will always in the email to line, I will always enter their email address before the CEO's. So if like the CEO was Bob and the assistant is a female named Jane, I'm always going to put the to line Jane and then the CEO. Like nobody probably notices, but it makes me feel like I see you. Another thing that I do kind of along the same lines is if I'm emailing a team, I will always address the woman first in the actual email. So I'll be like, hey, Kathy and Joe. I'm having a hard time coming with names. Anyway, that's my favorite form of microfeminism.
Joe doesn't care. Like, do they know that? I guess she admitted that nobody notices and it's only to make her happy. It's only for her own personal sense of satisfaction.
I mean, that's a prison of your own making.
Yeah, no, literally no one cares. Joe doesn't care and Kathy doesn't care.
Kathy doesn't care. 'Cause
Kathy definitely doesn't
Kathy
care.
is not burdened by the level of your feminism.
I also was only alerted to the existence of microfeminism from a reel that I came across saying, tell me your most unhinged way that you practice microfeminism in your life. I'm not talking about assuming the doctor is a woman. Give me insane ones, thanks. I'm assuming she's looking for recommendations. So this is one. My daughter met one of my male coworkers when she was little and turned to me and said, Mom, I didn't know boys could be doctors too. As a waiter, if I can't carry all the food at once, I'll bring a mother's food first. I introduce female friends by their accomplishments, and I introduce men as their hobbies. We play cards with the queen having the highest value. I mean, okay. For the last 10 years, I've been taking my kid to exclusively female professionals. He now thinks all doctors, dentists, hairstylists, etc. are women by default, saying, I know you're very emotional right now, but let's try to focus on the facts when a business debate gets heated with a male colleague. They love that. When a man asks if I'm done with something at the gym, I say, sure, do you want me to lower the weight? Oh, here's another one. I say humanly designed instead of man-made.
Again,
That's been one I've heard about for a while now, like referring to humankind instead of mankind.
yeah. Again, all of these people are just like I feel sad for them more than anything. Like this level of combativeness over the genders is going to make your life so much less fulfilling and make you so much angrier. Like to be fair, like I get it. Like there's plenty of things that people can say that bother me. That's true. But like if you walk around with this much hate in your heart,
Right?
It's not good.
Right, but they're smiling so smugly about it, and it clearly does something for them.
But the thing is you or I win by not caring. Like,
right.
You
right.
or I win by not
Okay.
caring that they're like that.
I'm trying to think because
Like if a woman came to me tomorrow and addressed me second in an email, I would never notice that.
with the I'm thinking about like things that I do in my daily life that some of these women would probably interpret as a microfeminism. And one of them is that I always intend to make eye contact with people and not look at the ground or look into the distance. I make eye contact, especially if it's at night, if I'm alone, if I'm, you know, like whatever, at a gas station or something. I make sure intentionally to make eye contact with people. And that goes for men, actually, especially because it's a personal safety measure. You're seen as more vulnerable to attack if someone is intending to you know, hurt you if you're not looking aware of your surroundings and if you look afraid. So that's one thing, but that's not microfeminism. That's just
that's personal safety.
That's just personal safety.
Being aware of your surroundings is important.
And as for the sidewalk thing, I practice that, but I don't practice that specifically when a man or a group of men is coming my way. I do that just in general. If I'm on the correct side of the sidewalk, I'm going to stay there. And people just lack courtesy in general. It's not only men.
There's no way in your life that you're better off behaving in such a neurotic way towards the genders. It's gonna make that first lady said she was married. Like I imagine that.
Yeah, like why are you married if you are this preoccupied with how much you hate men? But that is actually a prime example of women or just liberals in general who talk left and walk right. And conservatives do some of the same thing. They would talk right and walk left in their own personal lifestyle. But a lot of self-proclaimed feminists are in their daily lives not actually practicing the values they preach, because they tend to get married and assume traditional roles, and they're like, oh no, it's my choice. But it's actually not your choice. It's what you naturally desire. There were others that included holding the door open for men.
Again,
a man would actually just feel flattered that you did that.
I say thank you. Here, that'll always be the number one thing that will shock me, because I hold the door open for everybody. One of my favorite things is, like, I'm actually so gung-ho about it that I tend to be one of those person that will hold the door for just a little bit too long. Like, I probably could have just gone in and there was enough time for them to get to the door and open it themselves without them feeling...
You're the guy who's holding the door and they're like 10 feet away and kind of jogging.
Yes, that's me. It was like that scene from, what was it? What was the movie where he holds the door for like 10 people and that's me. Like, I will hold the door for everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're a guy, girl, black, white, gay, straight. I don't care.
I will never forget.
It's just courtesy.
Your story about the woman who told you off for holding open a door for her when you didn't even know that she was female because you weren't looking at her.
I was looking down.
I was like looking at my phone.
I did no idea who was walking. Like, and that's the thing. That lady, clearly a feminist. If you don't know, like back in like 2009 or 2010, I was visiting a friend on a college campus, and again, I went to tech school, so I got my degree in the back of a paper napkin. I wasn't exposed to that type of feminism, especially not back then. And I held the door open, and I was either looking at my shoes or my phone or something, not paying attention to what was going on. But I saw somebody walking behind me. The courteous thing to do is hold the door for them. And they said, the next time you want to hold the door open for a woman who is perfectly able to do it herself, how about you don't? And I'm like...
And that was even back in, what did you say,
2010? 9 or 10. So, like, that's lady wild. Probably made more anti-feminist than she's ever made a feminist, just by virtue of talking that way to somebody who had no inclination one way or the other.
Yeah. They also, of course, mention manspreading in this list. In public spaces, I make sure when I'm sitting next to a manspreading man, I make them close their legs. If they're listening to loud videos, I ask them to silence them.
That's fair.
I would do the same for a woman, but somehow it's always men.
That is absolutely fair. Like, if you're listening to videos loud on a train or on a bus, you're being rude to everyone around you. Just don't do it. Put your headphones in. If you don't have headphones, you must suffer without videos. Sorry.
Keeping your last name when you get married, that seems like more of a macro feminism to me than a micro feminism. But point being, it's just implementing ways to be kind of a see you next Tuesday for no reason all the time in a way that is actually more emotionally taxing than just living your life.
And look, the other thing is like this is we fall victim to the internet and this type of trend. Never in my life, other than the one example, have I ever run into a person who wasn't grateful to have the door held open for them.
Yeah.
Like I've never since had, maybe that's why it's so shocking that in many, many years since, over a decade since, in 15 years, of holding doors open for people at gas stations, at buildings, at stores, never has anybody ever appeared anything other than grateful for doing so.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like no one is actually paying attention to you.
Yep.
That's what they seem to forget. No one is offended by anything that they're doing. And also, they're not making the world a more feminist place.
No.
They're actually doing the opposite. They're creating anti-feminists.
Or they're or nothing's happening and the other person wins anyways by not knowing what's going on and not caring.
Right.
Like your kids growing up going to all female doctors, that's just weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
That's actually crazy.
You're just a weirdo and your kids will suffer because of it.
Right.
So,
thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.